You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
I've seen a lot of requests for us to do training, as well as to review policies and make sure that they are as good and tight as they can be. So a policy alone is not enough.
The Me Too movement exposing sexual harassment at the workplace. Local businesses look to protect their employees. What changes are being made? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the aftermath of the Me Too movement in a moment. But first, our top 7 stories at 7. Just how important is public education to you? We begin tonight with a vote taking place on the Suncoast. Sarasota and Manatee County voters are going to the polls to decide whether they are willing to pay more for the education of their kids. Both school districts are asking for a property tax increase that would generate $33 million for Manatee County schools and $56 million for Sarasota County schools. For property owners, that means for every $1,000 your property is worth, you'd pay an extra $1 a year in taxes. If approved, the money will go towards an extra 30 minutes of instruction a day, along with salary increases for teachers and bus drivers.
With the approval of this tax, there can be no longer the argument by the administration, or the board for that matter, that we cannot do better because we don't have enough money.
The polls will be open tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Governor Rick Scott on the Suncoast this morning to sign new legislation into law combating the state's opioid epidemic. In all, the bill directs $53.5 million in grants to treatment programs. Manatee County Sheriff Rick Wells wants a no-tolerance policy when it comes to dealers.
When we arrest one, we got to make sure that we keep the next one out of our community. So on the enforcement side, it's about making sure that we don't have a new supplier coming into Manatee County.
The bill will also update Florida's prescription database to track each patient's medication history, state, and nationality. 5 men have been busted after an undercover prostitution sting in Sarasota. Police say these 4 men were all arrested last Thursday and charged with the solicitation of prostitution. The men are ages between 23 and 68 years old, all living in Bradenton and Sarasota. The operation was conducted along North Tamiami Trail. A Venice man has been arrested for possession of child pornography. 74-year-old Hartley Haynes was arrested after detectives received a tip. The IP address at Haynes' home was used to download child pornography. Who is starting fires in Venice? 3 fires in the same general area. The fires were spread out over 2 weeks and 3 parks. The first destroyed Service Club Park, part of the new boardwalk. The second was on a nearby boardwalk at South Brohard Park. Then last Thursday, firefighters responded to a brush fire at Casperson Beach Park.
Are we suggesting anybody's lighting them? No, not at this time. But again, public safety is doing their due diligence into investigating the origin of the fires.
If you have any information on these fires, you are asked to contact the Venice Police Department. A Cirque du Soleil performer who died Saturday during a Tampa show posted on Instagram just hours earlier he was performing an aerial straps act for the first time. Yanni Arnaud fell about 20 feet to the ground while performing. He was taken to a hospital where he later died. Arnaud had been a performer with Cirque du Soleil for more than 15 years.
It was actually pretty uncanny. It was dead silence. As soon as it happened, you could hear the music stop, the performer stopped, everything halted almost instantly, and the paramedics jumped on the stage and everyone was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop.
Cirque du Soleil canceled its final 2 Tampa shows while the company and authorities investigate how the accident happened. After months of committee meetings and public hearings, the State Constitution Revision Commission started narrowing a list of proposed constitutional amendments that could go on the November ballot. The 37-member commission, which meets every 20 years, is considering nearly 3 dozen ballot proposals. One proposal would require anyone purchasing a firearm to be 21 years old, while requiring at least a 3-day waiting period after a gun purchase and banning assault-style weapons. Much of the discussion was whether or not the ideas belong in the state constitution.
When we look at our most sacred, sacrosanct document, what can be accomplished there and there alone, and what could be accomplished elsewhere by legislative enactment and statute.
Proposals approved this week will go to the Style and Drafting Committee. Now let's head over to ABC7's Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. Bob.
Yes, Alan, a first alert day tomorrow, meaning a very disruptive day weather-wise in the afternoon and evening specifically. That's when the line of intense storms are expected to move on through. And the Storm Prediction Center has now put us under a marginal risk to the south into South Sarasota County, also into parts of southern portions of Hardee County, as well as into DeSoto County, and a slight risk to the north of that, meaning a little bit more of a chance. As the front comes down, it's going to weaken somewhat, so that's the reason why it lessens as you push toward the south. But it's still there, and there's still a chance for some isolated tornadoes. That chance very small. But as I've always said in the past, a couple of years ago when we had the tornadoes that hit Siesta Key, our chances were just about the same as you see right here. So let's keep an eye on that. Better chances to the north. That's where most of the energy will be. Looks like right now, showers, a few thunderstorms beginning mainly in the afternoon and evening. We could have a few spotty showers prior to that throughout the morning. Right now it's warm, 75 degrees. We have a few clouds out there. The dew point is way up at 71, and the humidity at 87%. Now, you can see all the storminess to the north of us right now. That's associated with a piece of energy that's going to miss us. It's going to move to the east through the overnight hours. All these storms staying well to our north. There have been some heavy storms here, producing some locally heavy rainfall, where there have been some flood advisories earlier across parts of Gainesville, northward, up into Lake City. Some big storms still there, and it's going to be training over the same area. So they're not quite over yet. There's some early indications, some rotation. Those may be a little bit of false positives. Now, what's going to happen is this storm system right here and now moving through, and you can hardly see it. You can see a little spin and rotation through Missouri and southern Illinois. That's going to eventually sweep a big cold front away. And you can see these big storms firing up already into parts of Tennessee, and that energy is going to eventually arrive on our doorstep. And I do believe it to be later in the afternoon and evening. That may change and subject to change, but currently the readings are, and from what I see, the storm system itself will take a little while to get through. Eventually it should clear our area, and guess what? Jackets and sweaters required after that. So some cooler air.
Another cold spell.
Yes.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, the Sunco is getting the message when it comes to being proactive about sexual harassment.
A promise was made, a promise that hit the beaches of Normandy, a vow that captured Iwo Jima, a contract that weathered Tet, a pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq, an IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
My name is Stefan Campagna. We're Bang Gates & Dramus, and here is your law tip of the week. If you've been injured in an accident, whether or not it's your fault, your insurance company might be responsible for some of your expenses. So give us a call. We've got your back.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
The skills you develop as a soldier in the Army National Guard can give you a head start on your career. Gain practical experience with technology and equipment that will give you a leg up in the civilian world. Learn critical leadership skills and to be part of a team. Serve your community and your country part-time while earning money for an education. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn about the paid training and career opportunities available to you in the Army National Guard.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
The Me Too movement broke the silence of thousands of women gaining the confidence to speak out about sexual violence and harassment. It started as a vital mainstream conversation, and now some Suncoast companies are starting to rethink and revamp their policies to shield against sexual harassment. ABC7's Jess Dowdrick joins us with more. Jess.
Alan, women have changed the mood. For a long time, some companies would keep quiet about sexual harassment allegations and oftentimes not take them seriously. That's an era of the past. One Suncoast company is taking the lead and making symbolic moves in hopes that other companies will follow. Take a scroll through Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Flip through the TV channels, open the newspaper, and you'll likely stumble into a conversation about the Me Too movement. It's all around us.
As a Christian, as a father of 2 daughters, it's like, one of the first things I started asking myself is, what can we contribute to make society better in this?
Rev Content CEO John Lemp has taken a powerful stand against sexual harassment and assault in the age of #MeToo. As the world's largest content recommendation network with ads reaching 90% of the U.S. audience, Rev Content has eliminated the use of all sexually objectifying and explicit content. For example, the company won't allow ads that show women in bikinis or men with their shirts off.
Just because Facebook or just because all our competitors aren't willing to enforce a standard doesn't mean we shouldn't. So we've decided to actually lose revenue by making the choice that we feel like is the better choice.
Lemp's employees are behind him, 100%.
I think that we're definitely one of the forerunners towards this type of thing, but I think other companies are going to recognize that, and over time, other companies are going to adopt similar policies. Or at least I hope so.
The company now getting national recognition from the National Center on Sexual Exploitation for the steps it's taking.
They were able to sort of give us their standards, and we essentially opened our entire compliance process to them and wound up implementing every single one of their recommendations.
Luckily, there are other businesses out there like Rev Content that are taking steps to eliminate sexual harassment, assault, or exploitation from society.
I've seen a lot of requests for us to do training as well as to review policies and make sure that they are as good and tight as they can be.
Gail Farb, labor and employment management attorney at Williams Parker Law Firm, says one part of addressing sexual harassment in the workplace is to create a clear policy.
Some of which would be to define what is the prohibited activity, whether it be called harassment or bullying or something else, and then to whom the employees should go to report any activity, what the company's going to do, such as a prompt investigation, whether that information can be kept confidential to the extent possible.
But that policy alone is not enough.
You need to train your employees and your managers, and so you have your whole work staff, understanding what it is, and then who's going to do the investigations, train those investigators how to do them. There's a lot of parts that you kind of take for granted, and it's not just write a policy, here it is, sign it, move on, we've done our job.
And there are still companies out there that aren't addressing the issue. At Spark, the Safe Place and Rape Crisis Center, the staff helps the victims of sexual abuse.
Since the Me Too movement, we've had a tremendous amount of calls of people coming forward saying it happened to them. And it's not just females, it does happen to men. I think it's hard for us to kind of grasp our mind around it, but that a female is capable of harassing a male, but it does happen. So this movement has kind of created a safe place for them to come out and get help.
They're hopeful that the companies in need of a policy and procedure changes do so as a result of the Me Too movement. First and foremost, Cherie Heasley says companies need to take the report of sexual harassment and assault seriously.
It is a really great time to ensure that everyone is aware of it, to have those conversations and to have an open door policy.
Heasley can't reveal whether or not Spark sees victims of incidents that happen in the workplace, but she says it is happening. According to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, there have been more than 2,000 charges filed in 2017 relating to sexual harassment, assault, or abuse in the workplace. But it's happening a lot more than that. The numbers just aren't being reported because of reasons such as the statute of limitations is over. The numbers also don't include victims that still haven't spoken up.
Jess, thank you. Coming up, a local CEO and an attorney here. Meet me at the trapezoid.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her so I could call and thank them. And she's doing fine. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast. Life Alert saves a person from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Life Alert is a lifesaver. If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-652-3012. That's 1-800-652-3012. Call now 1-800-652-3012. For a free brochure, call 1-800-652-3012.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order. I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Approval was easy and the price was right. I wanted to do this for my children.
Call 800-738-9812. 800-738-9812.
I just need a second.
Is your weight holding you back and affecting your health?
Did you see this? Your cousin had a heart attack.
Really?
Excess weight or obesity can be serious, but you can do something about it. Visit yourweightmatters.org. Download the free toolkit to prepare you to speak with a healthcare provider. Your weight does matter. Accept the challenge and take charge today. Visit yourweightmatters.org.
Welcome back. One incredible revelation after the Me Too movement. How many companies didn't have written sexual harassment policies, and a lot of those companies have had to learn some hard lessons. No more companies, including here on the Suncoast, are coming up with detailed policies and making sure employees are aware of them. In some cases, firms are fundamentally changing the way they do business to make sure that their products don't promote sexual exploitation. And joining us for more are John Lemp, who is the CEO and founder of Sarasota-based Rev Content, and Gail Farb, who is an employment attorney with Sarasota-based Williams Parker. Thank you and welcome to you both. John, let me ask you this, because the one thing that really kind of got me about what your company is doing right now is taking a look at what your company puts out there in terms of preventing sexual exploitation and sexually explicit content. What do you mean by that?
Well, I appreciate you having us on the show too, Alan. But yeah, what I would say is, when we look at this, it's content that's within our advertising platform. So so that's content that advertisers might show on different websites, and that's so we work with a lot of news sites, and they'll essentially have related articles, related ads at the bottom, and when they have those, it's the types of images, the types of advertisements that are on there.
So what kind of thought process took place in terms of coming to the conclusion that what sometimes you were putting out there is maybe stuff that you shouldn't be putting out there?
Well, we have a lot of responsibility. I feel like we have a significant reach. We're reaching hundreds of billions of impressions every single month. So we're reaching a lot of people, people across the U.S. And when I look at this movement, what I see is I see a cultural issue. I see something that's much bigger, and that's something that we need to address. And for me, it's just being a Christian, having two daughters that are growing up that are using the internet all the time. It's like, I don't want to be a part of the problem. And when I look at it, it's like, people say sex sells. Like advertising is like, it's all about sex. It's all about, show this or show that. It's like, I don't want to be, having a system that, that has anything that's even remotely, bikinis, anything like that, that's remotely wrong. And we knew we needed help on this. That's why we went to a third party, which is the Center for National Sexual Exploitation, to say, hey, you know what? Tell us the standards that we should be living by.
And I want to dive into that a little bit more in a few minutes. But Gail, a lot of the companies are making decisions like this. They may not all be advertisers, but they deliver a product in one form or another, and they have to make new decisions in terms of whether that's appropriate to basically the realizations that many management companies have had.
Sure. I'm sure that employers all around the country are looking at not only their policies on how they treat employees, but what kind of image they want to represent themselves to their public and to their customers.
The one thing that has amazed me since the Me Too movement got going is how many companies did not have sexual harassment policies that were written and that employees were aware of.
I don't know what the numbers are, but I've definitely read articles that it's surprising how many employers have not started getting policies into place if they didn't have them already.
What did you see in terms of your business after these stories kept on coming out in terms of companies coming to your firm and asking for help?
We definitely had an uptick in people coming in not only for policies, either to review them or to suggest different policies, but also do training on the topic.
John, so for a moment you talked about your content, but what did you do in terms of the policies at your company?
So I mean, this is that's a really great question, because it's something that actually we've already had in place, and then and every year we actually we were just talking about it earlier. Every year we actually we have a meeting for the company, and we have training and training that goes, because it's not only about having a policy, it's about the training that's associated with it.
Okay. We are just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more on being proactive when it comes to sexual harassment policies in the workplace right after we check the first alert weather, so stay with us.
Want to know a secret? If you're looking for the best selection of area rugs at an unbelievable price, the only place you need to look is Rugs is Art. I know what you're thinking. Expensive, right? Wrong. Rugs is Art has the largest selection of area rugs on the west coast of Florida in a variety of styles, with 8x11 area rugs starting at $199. Largest selection, personalized service, and unbelievably low prices. You'll find it all at Rugs is Art.
Rugs as Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
You now have the power to prioritize your Facebook feed and get local news and information from the team you trust. Go to the ABC7 Sarasota page on Facebook. Give us a like, then click following and choose See First. That's it. Customize even more by choosing notifications. Choose breaking news, posts, live videos, anything you want to see in real time. Take control of your newsfeed and stay connected to what's happening in your community with ABC7 on Facebook.
Thank you.
What are you doing? You are the best protection she has. Buddy up. I'm Jill Harrington. Please visit helpsavethenextgirl.com and get involved.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs, stop the crimes.
I'm Deshauna Barber. In 2016, I was proud to win the title of Miss USA. What makes me just as proud is my service in the U.S. military. In the service, a soldier gains skills and learns values like discipline and leadership. That makes them an asset to any business that hires them. If you're an employer, on behalf of Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, remember to hire smart and bet on a vet. Visit saluteheroes.org or call this number to learn more.
Our conversation on sexual harassment in the workplace continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
I'll tell you, we are watching a beautiful afternoon and then a great sunset tonight expected, although there's a little haze in the atmosphere right now, and we had some fog around this morning. That fog burned off, allowing for some sunshine to move on in, and we saw temperatures warming well above average into the upper 70s to low 80s across the region. Now, there are some big changes headed our way, and another nor'easter expected to cause all sorts of problems over the extreme northeast United States and the mid-Atlantic coast states, some of them anyway. A tornado watch is in effect, and as far as the northeast is concerned, a winter storm watch, a winter storm advisory in effect for southern Ohio and even into West Virginia. This is a tornado watch box, which is in effect for northern Alabama and into parts of central Tennessee and east Mississippi tonight. There are tornado warnings, several of them. This one, a new one, just came in from the National Weather Service there for central and northern portions of Alabama tonight. This is some very rough weather associated with a developing storm system, which promises to bring some big changes our way on Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night. Right now, some flooding going on along the I-75 corridor there north of Ocala all the way through Gainesville up to near Lake City, and that's a result of some intense storms that have been blowing up there this afternoon. That piece of energy will miss us. It's the one tomorrow afternoon and evening that'll get us. Severe storms are possible with that, meaning winds could exceed 58 miles an hour with some of the gusts. On top of that, there is a possibility of some isolated tornadoes as well. Windy through Wednesday. That means the winds will be gusting as high as 35 miles an hour as the front pushes on through late tomorrow evening and into Wednesday morning. Current conditions, we have 75 degrees, a few clouds out there, and the dew point summer-like. Reading at 71. Winds out of the south-southwest at 10. The pressure is rising slightly, but it is lower than it has been. 80 degrees the high today, above average of 77. The record 91 set in 21. Well, here's one particular depiction of the forecast model that we are watching right now, which has been fairly reliable this season. You can see all that rough weather kind of staying to our north and east. 1 or 2 spotty showers are possible after sunrise tomorrow. We'll see a mixture of sun and clouds throughout the morning, and then a little bit better chance for this actual cold front to move through. Now, once in a while, as these fronts move through, the models don't pick it up, that this line, the prefrontal trough, can get very active. Now, this is at 2 p.m. Right now, it's depicting just a few showers around. However, the models are trending for late afternoon and evening storms, and I think that's probably a better fit as everything kind of comes into play. By 8 o'clock, most of the rough weather should be over. So as far as severe weather goes and isolated tornadoes, you have to stay tuned very closely. Obviously, download our ABC7 weather app. We'll have updates on that as well throughout the afternoon and evening. Now, behind it, things get really cold. We're talking back to winter, and it's kind of ironic. The first day of spring begins tomorrow at 12:15, and then we'll see winter-like temperatures on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We're talking highs back in the mid to upper 60s and lows into the upper 40s to low 50s. So the Storm Prediction Center has given us a chance now, a slight chance for severe weather across our region beginning tomorrow, and that really is in the afternoon and evening. Much better chance to the north. We even have a 10% chance for tornadoes here as the front moves through. Interesting to know, back a couple of years ago when we had those tornadoes on Siesta Key and Duet, the chance was at 10%. So once in a while, these storms can produce isolated tornadoes that are quick hitters and move on. Rainfall forecast suggesting some isolated areas could get up to maybe a ½ inch to 1.5 inches, but I think generally less than a ½ inch of rainfall anticipated across parts of the Sun Coast. I mentioned those winds out of the southwest during the morning, but notice how they pick up. These are sustained winds too, beginning tomorrow evening out of the west and northwest. They subside somewhat in the morning, but not much. So look for a very windy Tuesday night. For boaters, advisory will be issued for Tuesday afternoon, mainly and evening for coastal waters as far as small craft advisories go. It will be choppy out there, to say the least. First alert weather day tomorrow, meaning a very disruptive day, especially in the afternoon. Turning cooler and windy on Wednesday. Chilly on Thursday, highs only in the upper 60s. That's almost 10 degrees below average. And notice at 48 on Friday morning. But guess what? Just in time for the weekend, it turns out perfect, mid to upper 70s. Alan will be back with his guests right after this.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
Want the latest weather and traffic conditions wherever you go? Introducing ABC7's revolutionary new First Alert weather app. With our state-of-the-art new weather app, you get up-to-the-minute weather alerts, interactive radar maps, current conditions, 10-day forecasts, real-time traffic maps, and weather video from ABC7, all at your fingertips. And it's free. Just search Suncoast WX in the App Store and download onto all your devices today. Sponsored by Mr. Sparky.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
Performing on stage takes mental and physical preparation. But one thing I never thought to prepare for was cervical cancer. 91% of cervical cancers are caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV. The good news is there are vaccines that can protect you or your children from cancer. I survived my cancer, but you can stop cancer before it starts. Talk to your doctor and go to thinkaboutthelink.org to learn more.
Welcome back. We're talking about how some Suncoast companies are being proactive when it comes to sexual harassment policies. And joining us for more are John Lemp, CEO and founder of Sarasota-based Rev Content, and Gail Farb, an employment attorney at Sarasota-based Williams & Parker. And John, let me ask you about something that you've said publicly, and that is trying to change advertising. That's what your company does. It's a online advertiser creating advertisements for companies not only here but around the country. But you said that we need to change the advertising industry to reflect the importance of this movement. We cannot allow sexually explicit imagery to continue to degrade women if we hope to win the fight against sexual harassment. I'm trying to relate this to other things that we have seen out there, whether it's people who argue about violence in video games. Can you blame the content for the behavior in the workplace and elsewhere?
So I think it's a great question, and I want to talk with regards to sort of censorship specifically, and then that concept, but then talking about the advertising associated with it. What I believe good advertising is doing is creating a strong relationship between a user and a product or a service. And what I would say is the problem when I see it in advertising specifically is that with that, is that the type of relationship a brand wants? Is that the type of relationship or the type of effect is just some cheap click that a person just because it's very sexualized or very in that manner? And that's where I see the issue within advertising, is that I feel like it's the same thing. It's a very same correlation with if you're talking about managing employees. It's like managing employees, and we were talking about some of the different aspects of that. It's like you're either building genuine relationships or you're not, or you're just you're trying to get some cheap thing to just like if you can't change a culture of a company if you just you have a meeting and says, hey, sexual harassment's an issue. It's like, let's actually address this. You're going to change it by actually addressing it, and then changing the culture in general. But I don't agree with censorship, I would say, per se. So it's like video games, what you're talking about in that way. But I do say that when you have a network that reaches as many people as we reach with terms of our advertising, same thing as Facebook, same thing as Twitter. It's those types of systems and those types of networks, they have a responsibility, and they have a responsibility that just like TV and radio has responsibility.
Gail, this is a difficult area to talk about, and I was saying during the break, I was watching a roundtable with Ted Koppel, the famous newsman, who said, hey, you gotta bring it up. Sometimes it's about the way women dress in the workplace. Maybe dressing less provocatively is one of the issues that has to at least be talked about. When he said that on the panel he was on, he was really derided. But if we're talking about our advertising, should we also be talking about that?
Well, dress codes are important, as well as the image that you want your company to portray. I don't think it's necessarily women's dress alone that would be responsible for sexual harassment at all. John made a good point that if you're going to change a culture of a company, you need to do it from the top down and really own it. So if part of the culture is that we treat each other with respect and dignity, you want to dress professionally. You don't say don't dress provocatively, but dress professionally. How do you want to be expressed for your clients, for your customers, and to the public? I think that's the best way to focus on a dress code.
One other area that I did want to ask you about is the number of sexual harassment complaints that are coming forward these days, and I know, a fair number of women who have been in difficult situations before, and their main concern was if they did file a complaint to HR, this may adversely affect their professional careers in the future. Is this something the legal profession and the business world is trying to get a handle on these days?
We are. One part of a good policy against harassment or harassment prevention is the anti-retaliation portion of it. The person who brings a complaint needs to be reminded that they are not going to be retaliated within the company. The alleged harasser is also told you cannot retaliate. And then if the agreement or the investigation into the allegations is kept confidential, that information should not get outside the company, so it shouldn't prevent them from being treated fairly later on.
But isn't the problem that sometimes that information does get outside the company, and that's what victims might be concerned about?
It could, but sometimes it's victims who mention it. If an investigation in a company doesn't keep it confidential, then shame on the company. It should keep it as confidential as possible. When you do an investigation, you're going to have to know some facts. You have to know who the alleged harasser is, you need to know who the witnesses are, and you need to be able to talk to them. You ask them to keep it as confidential as possible, but it's only so much that you can do. You can't be totally anonymous, or it's very hard for the alleged harasser to try to rebut whatever they're being accused of.
John, you said that you were doing a lot of these things before the advent of the Me Too movement, but how have things changed in terms of your company and how you're trying to manage these situations when they come up since the Me Too movement got going?
Yeah, I think I think the best part about this is the fact that it's actually creating a conversation. I mean, it's creating a conversation about issues that I think that we just don't tend to talk about as often. So, and that's the thing, is these more difficult issues, are now coming up in conversations more. So that's what led to us sort of.
So give me an example. What has a typical man in your company said to you about how to just deal with everyday conversations with women in the workplace? What have women said to you?
Yeah, I would say it's what led to the conversation of what could we do to help. It's specifically in which led to this decision and this this where we started investigating and saying, hey, how can we change the culture? But specifically within the company, I would say is we have a unique company. It's it's interesting. It's not like so we don't have a company where everybody says you have to dress a certain way or do that. But it's a culture where there's a lot of individual freedom and individual creativity, and but there's also sort of it's a culture of sort of respect. So respect for each other, and and there's we have a lot of conversations and difficult conversations, and that's a part of one of our values is just is a courage of communication. And courage of communication means to address and have those difficult conversations first. So with with Me Too, I'd say is it's something that we haven't actually. I haven't seen us actually have too many more of those types of conversations.
Yeah, we have less than a minute left right here, but are there still companies out there that are kind of slow on the switch?
There probably are. More and more are getting on the ball and either creating policies or asking for them or training their employees on how to do things right.
Okay. We have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment, so stay with us.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
I owed the IRS $20,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
We saved our home and overcame the most powerful collection agency in the world.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 1-800-565-7740. That's 1-800-565-7740.
There's nothing like this trail in Alabama. It just goes from the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state. We see all kind of different terrains, great value, great fun. We've been coming for 18 years. We started off with a group of 8, grew to 12, and grew to 16. And we love it because where else can you get world-class golf courses with world-class accommodations? To be able to play these type of courses in this environment, and the difficulty keeps us coming back over and over and over again.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Webb.
And I'm Ray Collins. Your chance to decide if more tax dollars should go to local schools.
Voters go to the polls tomorrow in both Sarasota and Manatee counties. We'll have the Sarasota election supervisor live here in our studio. That's tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
Potential for strong, even severe storms as a frontal boundary approaches. We'll give you the latest.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you. Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
And our guest joining us right now for final thoughts. And Gail, let me start with you, because despite everything that we have lived through over the last couple of months, I still imagine there are people out there who are concerned to go to the company and file a complaint because, you know, sometimes in the corporate culture, there is concern about retribution no matter what the written policy is.
Well, I understand that, and a lot of people have waited for a long time. But if the people believe they're being harassed, don't come forward, then there's nothing the employer can do unless they actually see whatever is actionable or potentially actionable. So it's vital for the victims to come forward and come and say something to someone. And usually the policies are going to give multiple avenues of ways or who they can go to, whether it's HR, their manager, or anybody in management, and bring it forward, and that way somebody can investigate.
And John, I want to go back to one of the most interesting parts of our conversation, how you're hoping to change the advertising world, because the advertising world in this day and age really use a lot of, you know, provocative images and messages to sell products. How are you going to take all that on and stay in business?
Yeah, it's a great question. It does mean sacrificing revenue, and that's a decision that we made together as a team. And when we looked at that's men, that's women, it's we looked at it together and we said, hey, how can we change this? What can we do? And that's the thing is, our competitors, we look at Facebook, it's and other guys out there, it's like they're not willing to do this. So this is something that I'd say for us to make that change was very important to us just personally. And I would say it's it is definitely something that needs to change. Look at Hollywood, look at that, and look at the effects that they've had.
Okay, you have to leave it there. FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, it's expired. Just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank both our guests for being here tonight. John Lemp is CEO and founder of Sarasota-based Rev Content, I'll get that right, and Gail Farb, an employment attorney at Sarasota-based Williams Parker. When we return, we'll have a final look at your first alert weather. Plus, is President Trump inching towards firing special counsel Robert Mueller? Stay with us.
Since 1972, Sleep King has provided quality mattresses and accessories at the best discounted prices available. Top brands like Simmons, Sealy, Serta, Beautyrest, iComfort, and more. With available free delivery, free financing, and free setup and removal. For a comfortable night's sleep with same-day delivery, even if we have to carry it on our backs. Trust Sleep King of Sarasota. Buy it today, sleep on it tonight.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny had been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone.
Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country, right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in the moment, but right now let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. A nice beach afternoon. Most of the morning had some fog around. It burned off, say, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. But again, the sea state, not all that disruptive right now, but it will be tomorrow afternoon. Small craft advisories more than likely for our coastal waters through Wednesday. It looks like through Wednesday and possibly even into Thursday. But I think Wednesday, most of it should be winding down by the end of it. Some big storms to the north of us, some heavy weather there. This little piece of energy is going to stay to our north as it pushes off into the Atlantic overnight. So this is not the system that's going to bring us the potential for severe weather. That's still back a ways. But boy, the rain has been heavy at times along I-75 just to the west of Gainesville and also just southwest of Gainesville. Some heavy weather there, some heavy rainfall. It's been kind of training over the same period. Same area for a period of hours now. That heavy rain moving into Orlando and also toward Cape Canaveral. You can see this is an estimated rainfall total in some areas picking up near Cross City about 6 inches of rain in just the last 6 hours. So some very heavy weather here along I-75. It's been treacherous driving conditions from just south of Ocala all the way through again Lake City, and then to the east of that area, we're starting to get more and more rainfall developing there. So the evening planner shapes up like this for us. Different story. No rain here. We'll see temperatures on the warm side, low 70s by 11 o'clock tonight. That's typical of what we see in the summer months as we get those afternoon showers that usually cool us off. And we'll be warm and muggy for us this evening. No showers around here, but severe storms possible tomorrow late afternoon and evening. That's what it looks like now. And windy through Wednesday. Winds are going to stay, as I said, brisk out of the southwest tomorrow morning, early afternoon, and then turning more westerly later in the day, and then northwesterly. That will usher in some pretty chilly temperatures. We'll see highs only into the 60s, I think, on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before we start to warm back up for the weekend. So the weekend looks to be really nice. Current conditions, we have 75 degrees. It's warm. It's a little bit high on the humidity, and the pressure has been kind of holding steady right now, 29.83 inches. It's lower than it has been, and winds are out of the south-southwest right now. Well, here's the futurecast showing the rainfall to the north of us tonight, kind of shifting off to the east as that energy leaves, and then the warm front basically moving through with the southwest winds out ahead of the actual cold front settling through on Tuesday afternoon. This particular model depicting a few scattered showers in the morning and early afternoon for us, and a better chance for more intense storms moving through late afternoon, say anywhere from 4 p.m. till up about 8 p.m., and I think most of the rain should be over by then. And then we get that northwest turn, and that cools us down. Temperatures expected to be below seasonal averages for several days, right around 10 to 12 degrees below average. The Storm Prediction Center, I showed this earlier, gives us a, again, slight chance for severe storms here. And that means one or two of the storms that do pop up have the potential for becoming severe, meaning winds in excess of 60 miles an hour or some small hail, more so the wind expected to be strong. And there's always a chance that one or two of those could possibly turn into a waterspout and then a tornado. If it maintains its organization as a waterspout and over land, it becomes classified as a tornado. To the north of us, a better chance for that rough weather as it'll be closer to the energy. And again, the rainfall amounts, I don't think we'll see as much as they're seeing up near Cross City, but not out of the question, 1 to 2 inches of rain in some isolated areas, but generally most everyone will get half inch or less. Now those winds really picking up out of the west and southwest and then turning to the northwest later on in the day and staying strong right through Wednesday. So those small craft advisories will stick with us, and a rip current advisory as well for us all day Wednesday and into Thursday morning. So the advisories for late Tuesday for boaters, seas will be running 3 to 5 feet with choppy conditions out there. As far as the 7-day forecast goes, well, here it is. First alert weather day tomorrow, and then cooler weather on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Look at the low on Friday into the upper 40s, even some mid 40s well east of the interstate, and then we pop back up just in time for the weekend with sunshine, temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves some green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
Chris Domine is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said if you don't do dialysis, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Then Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here.
Why, you don't like my hair? The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds.
No.
Delicious recipes.
Today, I'm going to show you a special dish that is sure to please that special someone in your life.
Watch the Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 70.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Give today at force.uso.org.
Checking primetime headlines, the White House has said at least 10 times President Trump has no plans to fire Robert Mueller, even after those weekend tweets and his own lawyers call for an end to the special counsel investigation. Many have wondered about the president's next steps. ABC's Serena Marshall is in Washington with the latest.
A new face added to President Trump's personal legal team. D.C. Attorney Joe DeGeneva joining John Dowd and Jay Sekulow. In a statement to ABC, the president's legal team called him a great asset in our representation of the president. The new addition follows this tweet from just last week. The failing New York Times purposely wrote a false story stating that I am unhappy with my legal team on the Russia case and am going to add another lawyer to help out. Wrong. I am very happy with my lawyers. This morning, he continued his attacks on the special counsel investigation, tweeting a total witch hunt with massive conflicts of interest. The White House, following a Sunday night statement, once again tried to ease concerns the president may fire the special counsel.
There are no conversations or discussions about removing Mr. Mueller.
The statement after a series of tweets that began this weekend, where he blasted sanctimonious James Comey and called out Mueller for the first time by name. Even though Mr. Trump's personal lawyer called for an end to Mueller's probe of possible Russian meddling in the 2016 election on Saturday, the day after former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe was fired, trying to tie together another former FBI official and the investigation the president loathes. On Capitol Hill, new calls for congressional protection of the special counsel.
To even in jest talk about firing Mueller or ending his investigation is unacceptable.
To suggest that Mueller should shut down and that all he is looking at is collusion, if you have an innocent client, Mr. Dowd, act like it.
The vocal frustration follows reports that Andrew McCabe shared with investigators notes he took after meetings with the president and news that the president's personal companies were subpoenaed as part of their investigation. Serena Marshall, ABC News, Washington.
The first lawsuit is being filed in connection with the pedestrian bridge collapse at Florida International University that killed 6 people last week. Orlando-based attorney Matt Morgan of Morgan & Morgan said that his client Marquis Hepburn was riding his bike to work when the bridge failed. According to Morgan, Hepburn was struck by a vehicle trying to get out of the way. He suffered spinal injuries and has since been released from the hospital. The firm plans to look into reports there was a meeting to discuss a reported crack in the bridge before the deadly collapse. 4 explosions in Austin, Texas in a month, including one last night that left an explosive on the side of a residential road. 3 previous bombs were stuffed inside packages and left on doorsteps. And unlike the previous victims, police say last night's victims are white. Austin police say a serial bomber is on the loose. The police chief said the latest device was triggered by a tripwire and shows a higher level of sophistication and a higher level of skill. Uber is pulling self-driving cars from the road after a pedestrian was hit and killed by an autonomous car in Arizona. Last night, a self-driving Uber SUV hit a woman walking outside of a crosswalk in Tempe. She died at the hospital. Tempe police say the vehicle was in an autonomous mode at the time of the crash, but an operator was behind the wheel. Uber has suspended all tests on self-driving cars in Phoenix, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, and Toronto. Emergency room costs are soaring big time. The Healthcare Cost Institute says ER visits average more than $1,900 in 2016. That's up more than 31% from 2012. The institute says the hike was driven almost entirely by an increase in prices charged by hospitals and also due to emergency rooms seeing a greater number of patients with more severe medical problems. And that's all the time we have this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.